Alright folks, welcome back. For this video, we'll take a closer look at the TL-1 LPC. So this is a premium tier 8 American medium tank. It is practically a premium version of the T95E2, the special recruiter friend tier 8 reward tank if your friend reaches a tier 10 in the span of 2 months or 3 months, I don't know. But that was the first version of the referral system, and they changed it. So I don't think you can get a T95E2 anymore, but this vehicle is practically the same, close enough. So here is the TL-1 LPC. Take a quick memory of the visual design, and here is the T95E2. It is practically the same vehicle. It does have a different cupola design instead of the M1 cupola, so it is the Israelis designed Irden cupola that's already on the tier 10, the M48A5 pattern, and it has side skirts, whereas the T95 doesn't. But it is the T95's hull. It is the M48 patent's turret from the A2 version, I believe, but I do have a skin for the M48 as well as for the T95, so that's why they look different. So take a quick look at the T95E2, and here is the TL-1. Yep, it is pretty much the same vehicle other than the cupola and the side skirts. So here is the M48 with the skin, but as you can see, it does have the Irden designed or Israeli designed Irden turret right here. So yep. But how many vehicles with the M48 patent's turret are they in the game? This turret is very popular, and I can tell you from the inclusion of vehicles like the recently introduced Panzer. Here is the M1 cupola yet again with the 90mm yet again. I think it's a different version of it's the A2 turret, alright? Kinda looks like the A1 version of the patent turret. But we also have another of this turret in the Japanese line. Oh, in the Chinese line. What the hell am I talking about? Here it is! This cupola and this turret yet again for this vehicle. Oh man. Man, this turret is so popular, Jesus Christ. But yeah, that's the TL-1 LPC. It is basically a premium T95E2, but it does have more penetration, better horsepower per ton ratio, and makes more credits. So if you want to get a T95E2 and miss the opportunity, you don't need it because you have this vehicle. And also, I don't think you can get one anymore, so they changed the referral system. And yeah, like who has friends that are willing to play with this damn game? That's a meme. Oh yeah, I don't think you can get a T95E2 anymore. Nope, it's just a random premium tier 8. Alright, sure. So let's take a look at the stats for the TL-1 LPC. So it has a crew of 4. It's good for the patent, the M48 patent, but I think the M46 needs a radio operator, so it's good for the tier 10 patent, but yep, M46 patent needs a radio operator, same for the Pershing, I think. Yep, for the Pershing, and for the Jumbos, and for the EZ8. I never kept the T20 because I never liked it. But it's also good for the T69 and obviously the patent, so also good for the T54E1. Yep. So some of the mediums you could train your crews in, but you need a radio operator for others. So let's take a look at the original stats right now on screen. So they did buff the DPM by like 80, so okay, but they nerfed the accuracy and nerfed the aim time. Nerfed the accuracy from 0.336 to 0.36. That's kinda big. And aim time from 2 seconds to 2.21 seconds. So Aim time is not as dramatic as the accuracy, but it's not that different. Well, accuracy is a little bit iffy, but okay, we'll deal with it. So let's take a look at the actual stats. It's a 90mm gun. It's modified to have more alpha for this vehicle because the original alpha was about 240, so it gets 40 more alpha. Alright, not bad, but 208mm of pen is okay. It's not great like 230 or 220, but still not bad as the T95E2. That thing is bad in terms of penetration. So DPM is actually decent, 2000 DPM, 0.36 accuracy, 2.2 seconds of aim time, 9 degrees of gun depression, 19 for elevation. Turret traverse is below average at about 40 degrees per second, so it could be better, but that's slightly below average. The average is about 45 or so. So overall, the gun performance is okay. It's not bad. It's reliable. The only downside is the shell velocity is at 914 meters per second. So you can only see this from the original Tank Inspector stuff, but it's also on the original super test stats that I already showed you guys. But shell velocity might be a little bit slower than the average, so you have to lead your shots a little bit more. Alright. And gold shell is decent at 280mm of pen. It's a high explosive anti-tank round, and that's okay. So yeah, gun performance, it's average. It's workable, but it's not that stellar. It doesn't have super amounts of DPM with penetration, so you still have to flank, you still have to aim for weak spots, but it's better than the T95E2 at least. So hull wise and health wise, it's a 88mm upper plate, so it's sloped backwards. It could bounce a few shots if you're hull down and increase the sloping of the upper plate, but don't rely on it. Turret front is 177. It has 1400 health, so above average health. But here is the actual armor profile of this vehicle. So upper plate is about 150mm effective. Oh jeez. Oh yeah, it's only 88 at the front. What the hell am I talking about? Yeah, if you slope the upper plate dramatically with hull down tactics, it's a lot better, but without sloping or angling of the hull, it's about 150. Holy crap. I mean, there are auto bounce zones for the driver hatch right here and for the cheeks of the hull, but don't rely on it. Lower plate is better than the upper plate at about 160. If you're not sloped, it's about 140. So yeah, hull is basically garbage. Don't even think about it. You do have a mantlet for the turret, and this will eat shells, but the Iridium Cupola is smaller than the M1 Cupola. It is still a weak spot, and the turret cheeks are not that strong. It's about 200mm. 170. Oh my god. Yeah, 170 if you're hit more close to the mantlet. So also you can bite through the mantlet next to the peephole for the gunner, the periscope for the gunner. So you can actually bite through the mantlet. Side armor is 50 for the hull. You do have side skirts, but don't even side scrape with this thing. Not even close, unless you like super side scrape. But it's no heavy tank. Side of the turret is 76. Don't even think about it. And for the rear, it's 25 for the hull, even garbage, and 50 for the rear of the turret. Man. Yeah, the armor is not great. It's not a M48 pattern, obviously, so don't expect to bounce that many shots, but the cupola is smaller, and if you're hull down, it does help with the profile of the cupola. Minimize the profile of the cupola if you're hull down. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, the turret shakes are one of the weak spots. So with a high penetration gun like a German 128 or a Russian 122, you will pretty much bite through the turret cheeks and obviously the upper plate. So yeah, armor wise, it's a medium tank. It's not great. So let's take a look at the speed. If this thing is fast, actually, it has 18 horsepower per ton ratio, and that is good. Most of the Americans usually have about 15 or 14 or so. It has the Devil's engine, 666 horsepower in the engine. Oh my, that is coincidental. All right, weighs about 37 tons. With the equipment, it's about 40. It's a medium tank, obviously. 50 kilometers per hour top speed, 20 reverse. That's healthy and pretty good hull traverse at about 48 degrees per second. So terrain resistance is 0.863 for hard, 1.055 for medium, and 1.822 for soft. It's below average across the board, but the horsepower per ton ratio is good enough. So overall, in combination with the horsepower per ton ratio with the terrain resistance, this should be slightly above average in terms of mobility compared to other medium tanks of American origin, but you will get bogged down in swampy grounds, so it's not as bad as yesterday's T-54E2, but it's no light tank, obviously. So yep, nothing stellar right there, but camouflage rating is below average actually for a medium too. As a tall profile, so don't try to hide this thing. And 400 meters of view range, that's good, that's above average. So overall, yeah, it's like a suitable, workable medium tank with nothing stellar that's standing out amongst all the other stats. So what I'm talking about is there's nothing that set this vehicle apart from a standard medium tank at tier 8. So it is the same syndrome as the STA-1. So originally, before the buff, the STA-1 has no armor, no mobility, and an okay-ish gun without DPM. But now, they buffed the crap out of the STA's DPM. So where the hell is my STA? Right here. So originally, they increased this vehicle's DPM from like 2,000 to 2,600. I mean, this vehicle has no armor whatsoever. Mobility is okay, but it's not the fastest. So top speed of only 45. So what Wargaming gave to this vehicle is a lot of freaking DPM. And it somehow works with this vehicle because it has decent penetration. So this thing spews out shots. And that's the only good prominent feature which it needed, right? It has only 13 degrees of elevation. That's also suck. But for this vehicle, for the TL-1, nothing really stands out. I mean, it's workable, but it's not great. So it's like average, a C grade across the board. So nothing really stands out other than the view range, but it's only the view range, and that's pretty standard too. I mean, it's not like 420 meters of view range. Nope. No armor. It could bounce a few shots from the manlet, but that goes with any other American mediums like the Pershing, like with the Pan KR, so nothing spectacular right there. So gun performance, it has decent enough pen for the 90mm, but not great as you saw with the STA-1. So also the DPM is not as crazy as the STA-1 with like 2,600, 2,700. So here is a full comparison with other mediums for the Americans. As you can see, the T95E2 is pretty crap, even compared to this vehicle. 181mm of pin. That is god awful for a tier A medium nowadays. You will not go through frontal armor of vehicles like the T32 even, unless you shoot the lower plate, and that's even a small niche they could pin, a small percentage. So yeah, this penetration sucks. So 208mm is a lot better than 181. that's for sure. And it has the same gun depression and elevation. Slower reload, but better alpha, so DPM evens about the same. Has less accuracy than the T95, and the same aim time, so slightly slower turret traverse, slightly less health, less hull armor, but then again, both hull armors are not that great. So we'll take a look at the armor right now for the T95E2. But yeah, you have the M1 Cupola, and that is a huge weak spot. It's at 81 millimeters. Upper plate is about 150-ish millimeters effective. Lower plate 120. You do have the auto bounce driver hatch, but it's a small target. And turret cheeks are the same, pretty much 180 millimeters effective. The matlet will eat some shots, but at the center of the matlet, you could bite through with a large caliber gun. So that's a T95E2 for you. Oh man, I mean, most of the American premium medium tanks at tier 8 are not that spectacular, right? Other than the Super Pershing, but Super Pershing had a roller coaster of a stats readjustment, if you will. So originally they nerfed it, then they buffed it, then they buffed it yet again, but it's been a wild ride for the Super Pershing. So this vehicle turns very quickly for the hull, and that's good. Top speed is average, so it's okay. It's not the fastest, but does have pretty decent horsepower per ton ratio, second only to the Pan KR. Alright, so it's not that bad. And 400 meters of view range, not the best of camos. So yeah, if I have to rate this vehicle, I would give it 7 out of 10. It's not great. I mean, as you saw, there's no prominent feature that stands out for this vehicle. It has some armor, but it's not the best. It has some speed, but it's not the best. It's okay in terms of firepower. And view range is, okay. I mean, it's not the craziest. So, nothing really stands out about this vehicle. Like with the STA1, originally it's about 7 or 6.5, but they did buff the DPM by a lot. They also buffed the accuracy and dispersion, shooting out movement, and that's what this vehicle needed, because you cannot buff the armor. The Japanese never really had that much armor, and this vehicle, I mean, is not the fastest, but they sure as hell buffed the crap out of the DPM, and I think this vehicle really needed that buff. So for the TL1, nothing really stands out, so I'll give it 10 out of 10. I'll give it 7 out of 10. But would you spend money on this thing? I wouldn't. I would never spend money on this thing. I mean, first of all, it's not OP, so you cannot crush faces. So might as well spend the money on something that could crush faces, like the Object 252U, or for that matter, like a LT432 or a EBR if you fancy the light tank playstyle. If you fancy a medium tank, the Super Pershing is decent enough, but it's a heavy, so I usually use the Super Pershing for training my crews. I don't even play with the Pan KR because I don't have it, and I don't play with the T25 Pilot because this thing is terrible. Oh my god. The penetration sucks. First of all, it's better than the T95E2, that's for sure, but still garbage. And DPM is average across the board. It has no armor. It's not fast, even though for the Pan KR it has better horsepower per ton ratio, has a slower top speed, and less view range. So 7 out of 10 might be even generous. I'm thinking about 6.5, but that might be too harsh. I'll give it 7 out of 10. So why can't we get a decent Tier A premium American medium tank to play with other than the Super Pershing? I have no idea. Son of a... But there you go, folks. The TL-1 LPC. It's basically a T95E2 for a premium price with better penetration and better horsepower per ton ratio. And that's pretty much it. I mean, that's all it needed, but it doesn't really stand out anyways. So the new patch for 1.6.1 will be live soon. I'll cover the Kampfpanzer 50T. That's the tier 9 reward for the rank battle mode, coming soon. But yeah, that will be interesting. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.